All right, so I do have 3:30 now, and I do have a lot to get through, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Again, if you're just now getting here, if you can get your phone or your tablet out and either hit that QR code or open up that URL here on your browser so you can follow along. I'm going to be asking questions, and then I want you to answer so that we can see the results here on screen. So I'll give it a couple of minutes more for everybody to get that up and running. It should work. Is anybody having issues? Everybody able to get it going? Yeah? You have an issue or no? You got it? Yeah? Okay, you're all good? Everybody good? All right, I'm going to get started then. So we're here for GIS for Leaders, 7 Elements of a Successful Enterprise GIS. My name is Adam Carnow from Esri. I'm out of the Charlotte office. And again, interactive presentation using swipe so that we can get some questions answered. Just to go over the abstract to make sure everybody's in the right room and you know what we're here to talk about. It takes more than technology for an enterprise GIS to be successful. It requires business and IT management skills. This session is going to review 7 elements of a successful enterprise GIS and provide strategies how GIS managers can implement them. 7 elements are vision and leadership, understand how GIS can contribute to your organization's success, develop and maintain a GIS strategic plan, implement effective governance, implement evolutionary approaches or change management, deploy engaging apps, and then recruit, develop, and maintain good staff. So if you want to see some background on this presentation came from this blog post that I wrote 3 years ago now on LinkedIn. So you can check that out there if you want more info about the background of it. But I've been doing this over 25 years, and I've worked with agencies across the country. And if you ask me what makes a GIS successful, I'm going to nail it down to these 3 things. Number 1, motivated people committed to managing change. The people that I see that are the most successful are people that are passionate about it. They're motivated. They're never going to take no for an answer. They're going to make stuff happen no matter what gets in their ways. Number 2, effectively applying the technology in a sustainable manner. And what I mean by sustainable is not green. I mean that it's easier to keep your GIS up and running. Primarily there I'm talking about writing code versus using COTS technology, commercial off the shelf. If you write a lot of custom apps, you then get caught on a treadmill trying to keep all those apps up and running and alive when OS and other changes happen. And it's fun to write code, and I know we always want to we try to meet 100% of our end users' requirements. But it doesn't always make business sense to write code. There's a big total cost of ownership involved with custom apps. And so if you only go custom when it's absolutely necessary, it makes a business sense, that's much better than can I do it? It's should I do it, not can I do it. And then the last one is following best practices. Too many of Esri's customers out there do not follow our best practices. We actually do know what we're talking about on how to run the software. We've helped hundreds of thousands of agencies across the globe in every industry run it. And I just really wish people would follow our best practices because their system would run a lot better. Okay, and then I had a meeting once with an assistant city manager. In the first meeting with him, one of the best quotes I've ever heard came out of his mouth. He said, look, whether or not our GIS implementation is successful is not a technology problem, it's a people problem. And he's 100% correct. GIS, if you distill it down, is pretty simple. It's hardware, it's software, it's data, it's a network. And if you set it up right, it hums and it does great work. Every time I'm in an organization that has a successful GIS, again, it's because there's people committed to making it happen. And so the technology part is easy, the people part is hard. Changing culture, changing personalities, bureaucracies, politics, personalities, attitudes, that is the hard part, and that's what I'm here to talk to you guys about today. The first thing I do want to mention is when you're dealing with people and change, you should have a change management program in your organization. And change management is not a project that you do for 6 months, it's something you do every day. And this is becoming more and more of a thing now in organizations. And I'm not talking about software change management. I'm talking about organizational change management, managing change in your organization, the way you do business. And so if you don't know anything about change management, this is a definition from one of the experts, ProSci. And it's the discipline that guides how we prepare, equip, and support individuals to successfully adopt change in order to drive organizational success and outcomes. So IT is changing rapidly. GIS is part of that. So change, you need to embrace it, and your organization needs to embrace it. And so if you don't have a change management program, ask around in your organization. You might already have one and not be aware of it. If you want to learn more about it, Esri does have a change management practice, so we can connect you with folks there. But I will tell you there are extreme examples of how people with change management programs in place have a lot less problems on the people side of things than those that don't. And therefore, they're a lot more successful with technology. Okay, so those of you that have the app up and running, and I'm going to ask my first question. Do you have a change management program in your organization? Answer yes or no. Yes.
Is that based on the definition that you had on the previous slide?
Yes. I'm assuming that this is going to be 100% no, but I just want to check. So you see the counts going up. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of small. 26, 27, 28 votes. Let's get up to 30, and then we'll show the results. So, we had 7 people that said yes. Okay, so that's awesome. So I usually get 0 yeses. So there are some people that do have a change management program up in their organization. For those of you that don't, you can see you're in the majority. Again, this is a newer type of thing, but definitely something that would really help you be more successful in your organization. So I'm talking about successful enterprise GISs. What I thought I'd do at the beginning here is show a video that will show off what I believe is one of the most successful enterprise GISs in local government in the entire United States, and that's Pinellas County, Florida. And I'm a little bit biased. I worked with them directly for about 11 years, but I have been around the country and looked at others, and I'd be willing to put them up against just about anybody. So this is about a 5-minute video that we did on Pinellas County, and I'm going to talk about some things you can see in this video that really show the difference that they do.
Pinellas County is on the west central coast of Florida. We are the most densely populated county in Florida. We have 1 million residents. Within 276 square miles, we have 24 individual cities that we work with on a day-to-day basis. We have about 35 miles of coastline.
We're also unique because we are a peninsula within a peninsula. And so we are affected by things like sea level rise and global climate change more than many other communities.
We're surrounded almost completely by open water, Tampa Bay, Intercoastal Waterway, as well as the Gulf of Mexico. And you add that subtropical climate to all the water and all the development, and you have a flood problem.
A state of emergency today as Tropical Storm Colin hit the Panhandle hard, dumping over 7 inches of rain in Pinellas County.
During Tropical Storm Colin in 2016, we worked with our GIS team to develop a viewer. And the viewer basically mapped all of our work requests that came in during the storm. And it just gave us a better situation awareness. So we basically developed it on the fly and tweaked it during the storm. And then we prepped for doing the exact same thing before Hurricane Hermine hit.
During Hurricane Hermine, we were using the map apps to update the information that we were receiving. We were updating the road closures. We could see where our trucks were. Trees down were marked with a different symbology so that everybody using the map apps could see what was going on.
We could dispatch crews to locations that were next to our emergency response teams addressing another call. We knew exactly where everything was.
We've really kind of leveraged ArcGIS Collector for field data operations. The one in particular that I think has been probably the most successful is our sign inventory.
We started using Collector app to collect all the signs within Pinellas County. With the application, our staff is carrying around an iPad, and they go up to a sign, they take a photo of the front and the back and attach it to the point where the sign is and move on to the next sign. So this has really helped our county know what we have out there and what we need to have supplies for in case of a natural disaster.
We look at a holistic view of GIS, not just a view at each individual agency or constitutional. It enables us to look at enterprise GIS from a futuristic point of view of where, as a smart county, we want to go.
WebGIS, I think, is the next logical extension of making accessibility the standard for all of our citizens, whether they're using a mobile device, a desktop, or any flavor of browser. They need to be able to get to that information, and the Esri tools, along with our web access and mobile access, really make that possible.
everybody can just go to our wealth of information on the flood information website, including links to all these map applications.
You just type your address in and it takes you right to the lot, and it shows you what flood zone you're in. Is there an elevation certificate? Are there wetlands on my property?
A big component of floodplain management in the county is our community rating system. The community rating system is put out under the National Flood Insurance Program, and it rewards communities with flood insurance premium discounts based on how far above and beyond you are going than the federal requirements. And one of the major components of that is outreach and education. And these MAP applications are a very good way to relay that flood hazard message to your constituents. We're now saving over $5.2 million a year across unincorporated Pinellas County in flood insurance premiums. So all our residents, businesses, any county buildings, anybody that's in the floodplain is getting the biggest discount that you can get on an insurance premium.
The next 3 years I see as kind of a renaissance for enterprise GIS in the county, where we're not doing the things that we have to do in order to kind of build the foundation for enterprise GIS. We're going to be doing the things that the businesses want us to do.
Whether it's knowing where your infrastructure is throughout the county and making better planning decisions based on that, or being able to analyze socio-demographic trends and making strategic investments to lift everyone in the community, that is going to pay back for generations.
Okay, so really great video. You can see they're doing great work. One of the things that I want to point out there, you guys see the county commissioner talking about the value of GIS. How many county commissioners out there know what GIS is and can talk extensively about the value that it brings to that county? Okay, what they have done is they have sold GIS to the top across the board. All the executives and all the elected officials at Pinellas County understand the value of GIS for that organization, and they know that it's critical to the success of that organization. And that filters down into everything that they do. And we'll talk a little bit more about some other things that they do. So, are your leaders aware of the more advanced capabilities of GIS? Yes, some or all of them are aware, or no, they think of GIS as map making. Majority of people that are not GIS users hear the term GIS and they think MAP. Those are the people that make the maps. And this is one of the biggest hurdles to being successful, is getting executive sponsorship and getting them to understand what GIS really is and what it can bring to the organization and how it can help them be more effective. Okay, great. So we have 18 out of the 29 that say yes, and then we've got 12 saying no. So one of the number one things you need to be doing if you're a GIS manager or leader in your organization is educate your executives on the value of GIS and what it can do to help them be successful. And GIS actually can transform an organization. Do not underestimate this technology. I've seen it transform Pinellas County. I've seen it transform many other organizations. Anytime you can take a paper manual-based workflow and make it digital, or apply the technology in a way where you're solving some sort of geospatial problem, you can change that organization completely in how they work. Most organizations are set up like the diagram on the left. They're hierarchical, they're very formal, they're very slow. Somebody at the top needs something, that request trickles down, somebody at the bottom does it, and then it bubbles back up. The way people really want to work is the diagram on the right, and that's networked. And that's the way GIS is designed, especially a web or cloud-based or cloud-integrated GIS is designed to work. And that is, if I'm an emergency management director here in the city of Winston-Salem and we've got a big storm coming, I shouldn't have to email somebody or call them or IM them and say, I need a map that's going to show me where the city's going to flood. I should be able to just pick up my phone, open up an app, and in 2 or 3 clicks, get the information I need, make a decision, and move on about my day. That's what it's set up to do, and that's the way it should be implemented. And when you do that, it will revolutionize the way that organization can work. And that's the goal. So how does your organization use GIS? Do you use GIS in that hierarchical manner, the pyramid on the left? Do you use it in a networked manner? Or probably most of you use it in a combination of the two, so that some people still function in the hierarchical, but you're also providing the networked example as well. And I'll wait for these votes to crank up a little bit, get me around 30, 23, 24. All right, close enough. Okay, so most of you, again, that's what I thought. In a combination of the two, that's good. We do have 4 of them in a hierarchical manner, so there's work to be done there as well to get people to use it in the networked manner. Okay, so now let's get into those 7 elements. I went over them at the beginning. The first one is vision and leadership. So there's a difference between being a manager and being a leader. And I kind of knew this, but I didn't really think about it until I read a certain article about it. And if you think about it, managers by definition are risk averse, because what's a manager's job but to keep the operation running smoothly? So if you're going to change the software, change the way you do business, a manager's not going to want to do that because it's going to upset the productivity of the operation in place. So it takes a leader to realize we need to change because we need to do better, and this technology can help us be better. And so we are going to upset the apple cart a little bit, and it's going to set us back for a few months, but it's going to put us ahead in the long run. And so we've got a lot of GIS managers. We need more GIS leaders out there. Again, your job should be, I'm actually a community evangelist at Esri. Everybody here needs to be evangelists. We need to change that image from map maker to solution provider. We need to let everybody know the capabilities and benefits of GIS. How many people out there, when you meet somebody new and they ask you what you do for a living, say, I make maps? Come on, raise your hand. All right, so we're part of the problem, right? So instead of that, when somebody asks you what you do for a living, you should say, I help people make better decisions through the power of location. All right, if you say that, they're going to want to learn a lot more, and they'll have a different attitude towards you. These people want your help, and they need your help. They just don't know it. So you need to document your vision for what GIS can do in your organization and create and maintain a plan to realize that vision. It's your job to extract as much value as possible from your GIS investment, and it's your job to exceed the expectations of the people funding your operation. If you work for a public agency, the people that are paying for the GIS are the taxpayers, the people, the businesses, the visitors to that place. And they deserve a full return on investment on that investment. So you can't say, I don't have time to learn the new capabilities in the latest version of the GIS. You can't do that. They deserve that return on investment. So you should always be trying to expand the capabilities, use all of them that you can, and expand the use of it. So, yes or no, are you guys evangelists? How many people out there evangelize the power of GIS above and beyond map making? Let me see yeses or nos. Yes, good, okay. Well, we've got a bunch of no's, though, so we need to create some more evangelists in here and get some folks out there showing people what GIS can really do. And this was the article, one of the articles that I read about the difference between managers and leaders. And I like this because it came up with these 3 things. So leaders on the left, managers on the right. So a leader creates value, a manager counts value. A leader creates circles of influence, a manager creates circles of power. A leader leads people, and managers manage work. So this is the difference in the mindset between being a leader and being a manager. I've also heard that leaders create more leaders. So that's another way to think about it. So we all get training in hardware and software. We all need to get leadership training. And there is leadership training out there because it doesn't come naturally. So part of this, in getting people to understand the value of GIS, is documenting and publicizing the return on investment that you bring to your organization. So do you document and publicize when you do something that saves the company time or money, or the organization time or money, or solves a problem? Do you actually document that and then present that to other people so that they're constantly hearing that every time they spend $1 on GIS, they get over $1 back? This is something that every GIS department should be doing every day. So answer is yes, regularly, no, or sometimes. And we get 14 sometimes, 9 no's, and 7 yeses. Okay, so I'm going to throw a name out there that you guys can write down. It's not in here. The gentleman's name is Wade Kloos, Kloos. He's head of GIS. Well, he's moved up now, but he's at Utah DNR. He used to work for Esri. He's an evangelist on GIS ROI, and he's created a spreadsheet and a whole methodology on how to implement GIS, documenting GIS ROI for every project you do, and therefore creating a portfolio of the savings that you're bringing the organization. So if you're looking to expand your budgets, that's the way to do it. So find Wade Kloos, Kloos, on LinkedIn, and he's got a video of this presentation right there at the top of his profile. Watch that video, and there's a link in there. You can download his spreadsheet, etc. This is, again, one of the most critical things you can do is publicize the impact you're having on the organization. Now then, you need to understand how GIS can contribute to your organization's success. You need to align yourself to whatever the people in charge think is the most important things. So look at how your organization defines success. Do they have a strategic plan? Do they have initiatives? Do they have goals, objectives, and policies? Have they implemented performance management, maybe with KPIs? Do they want to be a smart community? Whatever they think is the most important thing, whether it's the opioid epidemic or crime or economic development or whatever it is, that you should be rolling out GIS solutions that help them with those initiatives. And you need to talk to leaders. Leaders won't come to you and ask for a GIS app. You need to go to them. And you need to ask them two things. Ask them what their vision is and what their pain is. And they're happy to talk to you all day long about both of those. And then what you do is once you learn that, you come back to them later on and you show them solutions, you propose solutions that help them get them closer to their vision and help alleviate their pain. If you do that, they'll start to accept GIS more than maps. They'll become a GIS user. You can do that with dashboards, turning them into users, and then they get totally enthralled. So you saw in the Pinellas video, the head of Public Works talking about that dashboard that they created in 2 hours without writing any code in the middle of a storm in the EOC. He now uses that every day to run his entire operation. Do you think he's a GIS supporter? You're darn right he is. And he's got lots of money, and he's going to throw money at GIS. So that's what we need to make sure we're doing. So do you actively seek out executive sponsorship of GIS? Do you engage leaders and executives, find out what their business is, and then help them with solutions so that they are executive sponsors of GIS? Again, this is one of the most important things a GIS manager should be doing in their organization. Okay, we got a bunch, about 50-50. That's good. So all those people that answered no, it's time to engage some executives and get them understanding GIS and the value it can bring. Then we also need to have a GIS strategic plan. And almost every organization I go to doesn't have one of these. And it's critical because how can you get to that vision and get to the point where you're actually changing the organization for the better if you don't know where you are, you don't know where you're going, and you don't know how to get there? This needs to align with your organization strategic plan. It needs to align with your IT strategic plan. You can develop a GIS maturity assessment, which is kind of like a self-assessment telling you where you're at now, kind of a report card. How well are you doing things now? And then you identify where there's room for an expansion of services. And then you simply prioritize and execute a series of initiatives in phases in a sustainable fashion to get you where you're going to be. So do you have and maintain a GIS strategic plan? Yes or no? Okay, 17 out of 30 said, or 18 said no. So that is a number one thing at the top of your list to do when you get back to, and I'm going to show you a quick and dirty way to do that. Before I get to that, though, I want to show this as an example. So I met a gentleman a few years back at the Esri User Conference from South Australia, and he ended up writing a great article in Art News about the strategic potential of GIS. And he had a GIS strategic plan, and this was his executive summary of his GIS strategic plan. And I love it because it's simple and it's elegant and it can apply to any organization. So there are 4 core reasons why they were implementing GIS at this organization are, number 1, coordinate. I want to facilitate collaboration. I want to help people work together. Number 2, I want to simplify. I want to improve business practices. I want to help the organization work better. Number 3, I want to innovate. I want to constantly be creating smarter service offerings. And number 4, I want to enable informed decision makers. I want to turn decision makers into end users themselves, allow them to use the technology so they can make better decisions. That is a beautiful thing, and that is something that just about any organization could use in as their GIS strategy as well. So, talking about innovate, everybody here should be dedicating time to research and development. If you say I'll do research and development and innovation when I have time, it'll never happen. So you've got to actually put it on your calendar. Maybe it's every Friday from 1 to 5. I'm going to unplug from Outlook. I'm going to turn off the phone, and I'm going to dedicate time to R&D. How many people out there actually dedicate time to R&D and innovation in their shop? Oh, we have a lot to do. That's great. I don't usually get that. So that's excellent. Okay. For those of you that are answering no, it's another thing to do, is you've got to dedicate time to learning new stuff and implementing new techniques out there. So here's my cheat sheet on how to create a strategic plan, at least the very beginnings of one. GIS can support these 9 common business patterns. So mapping and visualization, data management, field mobility, monitoring, which is real-time, think IoT, analytics, design and planning, decision support, constituent engagement, and sharing and collaboration. So if GIS can support these 9 business patterns, and you want to get the most out of your GIS, you want to implement solutions across all 9 patterns in all of your departments. So all you need to do is go into Excel and make a spreadsheet where each column is one of the patterns, and then each row is one of your departments. And then sit back and think about where you've implemented GIS and where you haven't. And if you have, and it's green, color the box green. If you've kind of done it, it's yellow. And if you haven't done it at all, it's red. And you can do this in a couple of hours. And then here's your report card. This shows you where you're doing well, where you're not doing well, and where you need to focus. And so now all we need to do is slowly turn each box green over time. Just prioritize what order we're going to do that and make it happen. Now, in prioritizing, a lot of times things get prioritized because this person has more money, or this person yells the most, or this person knows the mayor, or whatever. This is how you really need to prioritize things, is break this down into benefit and level of challenge. So in the upper right quadrant, it's a low challenge, but a high benefit. Those are the things you want to do right away, the low-hanging fruit. Upper left, high benefit, but high challenge, cautiously embrace those. The lower right, low challenge but low benefit, that's where you can experiment. And the ones in the lower left, which are high challenge, low benefit, stay away from. Okay, this is how you should be prioritizing things, not on other ways. And then you want to deliver real solutions in a sustainable manner. I talked about the value of configuring. If you're not aware of it, we have a big area on GitHub. We've got hundreds of solutions up there. It's all open source. They're free. You can download these. You can configure them and deploy them literally in minutes. I could have a fire hydrant inspection solution up in about 15 minutes. You can pump your own data into it and be on your way. So this is, look at this as like your app store for turning those boxes green. Just to show you some examples of what some other customers are doing. So this is the Open Data site for Johns Creek, Georgia. They're a population of about 84,000 outside of Atlanta. They have a GIS staff of 2. And if you go to their Open Data site, you'll see this great site. And he's got live operation dashboards open to the public that show how they're doing in the community. So this one is fire incidents. So this is the status of all the fire incidents across the city. This one is all the business licenses in the city. This one is all of the work orders from the Public Works Department by priority, so they can see how well the Public Works Department is doing. And this one is all the building permits being processed by the city. So this starts to get people aware of what the city's doing, and they start to appreciate GIS for more than maps. And again, with a 2-person GIS team, they're making the time to do some innovative things. They're doing a lot of other innovative things as well. So, have you deployed any GIS-powered dashboards? I talked about the value of that. If I was a GIS manager, that's the number one thing at the top of my list, because who uses dashboards but managers and executives? And if you turn them into users, they're going to understand the value of GIS and become a supporter of the technology much more than before that. All right, so a lot of people say no. So those dashboards, if you're using our stuff, are really easy to configure. You can deploy them without writing any code. You just need to tie them in with the data. And again, they work on any device. So very, very valuable applications. Here's an example of another open data site, but taking it to the next level. This is Loudoun County, Virginia. This is their GeoHub. And what's interesting here is they actually have organized this based on the initiatives from the county commissioners. So if you scroll down, you find 6 county initiatives. So Enjoy Loudoun, Improving Transportation, Building Loudoun's Future, Serving the Community, Protecting the Citizens, or Business Success. So this is different than your normal open data site, which has a place to search for data or maybe subject matter. So if I'm a citizen and I come in here and I say, yeah, I want to know how Loudoun is improving the transportation, I can click on that, and then it brings me up to a whole nother website. And then in here, there are designated apps that help me understand that. I can find my bus stop, I can explore the transit system, see the bus times, find out what's under construction, and I can even see integrated live Waze data coming in. So this is a new way to engage citizens that's much more effective than your normal open data site, where we've got initiatives, and we've got dedicated pages with focused apps that are powered by open data. Taking it much more to the next level. So have you deployed a GIS open data solution? And I'm not talking about an FTP site with a bunch of zip files on it. I'm talking about an open data site like this that you can actually utilize. Okay, because there's like 0.1% of the community actually knows what to do with a shapefile, right? So this is much more useful. Okay, a lot of it had, that's great. But still a lot of people saying no, so definitely look into, that's included with ArcGIS, and again, it's very easy to configure and set up if you'd like to. The next thing you need to know is if you're going to start pushing out apps to a lot of people, especially executives, your infrastructure better be ready for it. The days of running an enterprise GIS for an organization of a decent size on a few servers has gone away. So what I'm showing you right here, this is the GIS infrastructure for Pinellas County, Florida. Now, you saw the video. They have a population of about 1 million people. This is 53 servers. Okay? What I'll tell you is this is old. They've just implemented CityWorks across multiple departments. They've added another 40. They have 93 servers in their GIS infrastructure to serve the enterprise. That, my friend, is enterprise GIS. 3 or 4 servers is not. Okay? Last thing you want to do is if you're turning on dashboards for executives, that they're slow and that they fall down. Okay? They better be fast and they better run 24/7, 365. And you see a commitment by an organization that understands the value of GIS. You heard the floodplain manager talk about how they deployed some apps that changed their community rating scale for the FEMA flood insurance. They're saving $5.2 million a year to the taxpayers in Pinellas County. And they did that with an app that they created in a couple of days. Okay, you bring in that kind of ROI, this is the kind of investment you get. This is not cheap, but they know that for every dollar they put into it, they're getting a whole lot more than $1 back. All right, so don't be afraid of multi-server implementations. If you want to grow your GIS and serve the organization, you're going to have to implement more servers. So do you have and maintain a GIS architecture design? You should have a GIS architecture design that shows all your servers like that one. You should maintain it to keep it updated. And then as you roll stuff out, you should analyze and figure out the load it's going to take on those. And if you need to deploy more servers, you deploy more servers. Okay, we have a lot that said yes, that's great, but a whole lot that said no. So you need to get those system architecture designs up and running. You then need to start to analyze its load and then figure out how you need to improve it as you move on. And again, as you get executive sponsorship, you'll get investment to deploy systems like that. The other thing you need to do is implement effective governance. Most organizations don't have a good GIS governance. And governance is like metadata. Nobody wants to do it and nobody wants to talk about it, and it's boring. But people ask me all the time what makes Pinellas special, and I'll point to their governance. They spent a lot of time figuring out their governance before they implemented it, and it made a big difference. Number one, that first bullet is a direct quote from Brian Zumwalt, who you saw in the video, and that is that he said, we didn't want the process to get in the way of progress. You want structure, but you don't want so much structure that it suffocates innovation and the functions of the organization. So they've got a great executive sponsorship, but the reason they do is it's built into their governance. They have a GIS steering committee. That steering committee is made up of executives and elected officials across the county. There's a chairman and a vice chairman, and they serve terms. So they're constantly cycling executives and elected officials through that, who meet with the GIS staff all the time and are constantly hearing how great GIS is to the county. So they're generating their own executive sponsorship through their governance. The other thing is Pinellas County got burnt really badly on some custom software. And so they have a mandate from the top that they will only go custom if it's absolutely necessary and it makes business sense. So if you want a custom app at Pinellas County, you have to go in front of the steering committee and you have to plead your case and you have to show why you want the custom app and you have to show that you've done a total cost of ownership analysis and I have the resources and the plan in place to keep that app up and running. And if they like the argument, they'll approve it. If they don't like the argument, you don't get to do it. That's where that decision should be made. You don't walk into the developer's office and say, can you do this? And they go, yeah, I can program that, no problem. Wrong. That's not where that decision is made. That is a business decision that has to be decided on whether or not it makes sense. The next thing they do is they actually prioritize the projects. Too often the GIS department gets stuck in the middle and they can't figure out which project to work on, and they get pulled in different directions. Here, the executive steering committee looks at the projects, they figure out which projects are most strategically important for the business of the county, and they set the priority, and then that's the way things are done. So that's some governance there and how it can help you. So do you have formal governance in place in your organization, yes or no? Now, implementing governance is not easy. It can be done, but And again, it can be very effective to the success. So the majority say no, and this is usually what I see. So if you want to start exploring some governance, there's people you can work with that can give you some examples. You can check out Pinellas' website. They have everything about their governance is up there if you want to copy it. You need to have evolutionary approaches. So you need to embrace change, make it part of your routine. I talked about change management earlier. You need to participate in early adopter communities. So see the software before it hits the streets so you can see what's coming and get ready for it. Again, make R&D part of everybody's work. Investigate the latest improvements and make plans to use them. That's just huge. And then deploy engaging apps. People want to use apps like those on their smartphones and tablets. They don't want to read a book. They don't want to have to watch a video or take a class. The apps need to be focused and intuitive, and they need to work on any device, anywhere, at any time. And the thing is that we get wrapped up too much in the technology. We need to forget the technology and focus on the business drivers. So when you're talking to those executives and they're telling you about their vision and their pain, focus on getting them to their vision and the pain, and then figure out what technology you can use for that solution. Don't lead with technology and say, okay, well, I want to implement real-time IoT, sensor mapping because it's fun and it's cool and it's new and it's interesting. No, it's got to solve a problem. It's got to be doing something for somebody that cares in the organization. So your goal is to give everybody alternatives. Let them use whatever device they want, so your apps need to be responsive. Number two, keep them in a known, controlled, and secure environment. That means identity. That means logins and passwords. I get a lot of people say, oh, we have fire inspectors, and they refuse to log in. They hate to do that, right? Well, think about it from the taxpayer standpoint. I don't care if my fire inspector doesn't want to log in. If that's what that fire inspector needs to do to be safe and use this technology to do their job better, then they better do it. And if you need help getting across to them that they need to log in and use a password, talk to whoever in your organization is in charge of computer security. They love logins and passwords, and they want everybody to use them. And it's not Fire Inspector 1 with a password of 1234. No, it's Mary Smith, because I have to know when Mary Smith retires that I turn off her access immediately. Okay? So we need to get over this reluctance to use logins. And then lastly, we need to use the latest and most authoritative data and processes, which means live web services. So I make a web map and I pump it up with live web services. I never need to make that web map again because it's automatically updated when the data is. So that's the goal for the apps and the GIS that you're deploying. And a great way to start that is looking at field operations. Field operations is a great way to generate easy ROI and to deploy some apps that really make a difference. Most people, there's 5 different phases to field operations, and most people deploy apps only in the capture phase. So maybe you've deployed collector or survey 123 out in the field. That's great. But you've got to plan that work at the start of the day. Field work is expensive and it's dangerous. I need to make sure my folks are doing the highest priority work the first. So we need to analyze it and plan it and prioritize it. Then we need to coordinate it. We need to give it to dispatchers. They need to dispatch that work out. They need to navigate to the location, then they capture it, and then you've always got people back in the office that want to monitor what's going on in the field. So there's 5 phases here. If you've deployed the capture, look to deploy apps across the other 4 phases, and that'll make a big difference. Okay, you always need to have good staff. I just saw an article today that said that the geospatial industry is way behind the 8 ball, and that the people in the geospatial industry do not have the skills for the technology that's currently out. And there's a big gap. So we need to invest. We invest a lot in hardware and software, but usually very reluctant to invest in training. Our people are the most expensive part and the most effective part of our GIS. We need to invest in that. And you can do that with a workforce development plan. And that's looking at your organization, figuring out who uses GIS, what are the skills they need to do their job with GIS, and therefore getting them the training to do those skills better. If you have an actual plan that says that, you'll much more likely get training budget rather than going to your boss and say, can I have 10K for training? And they say no. But if I have a plan that shows, here's the skills my people need, here's the classes that'll help them do those skills, how can they turn that down, right? It's harder to turn it down. Then you as a GIS manager, again, you need more than technology skills. You need IT management and business skills. So start to work on that. There's places to get business skills. You need to learn how to market and sell your capabilities to the leaders. You need to how to develop and maintain a business plan and a change management plan, and then hardcore IT management skills like system architecture design, service level agreements, enterprise system integration, security, project management, etc. These are the skills that are really going to keep you from being successful. And then get help. Every great GIS I see out there, they don't do it all themselves. Nobody knows it all and can do it all. They always get help externally. And this is true with any enterprise IT system. So don't be afraid or think that you don't know everything. I've got to go out and get help. Everybody gets help and to be more effective. So do you have and maintain a workforce development plan for your staff that shows exactly what training they need so that people can fund training for them? Yes or no? Again, the majority are no, that's fine. If you are an Esri customer, we have training consultants that can create these for you at no cost, so they can help you with that. Then develop strong partnerships. You have to have a team internally that you're working with to be successful. Number one, I mentioned it over and over today, executive champions. You need to have as many executive champions as you can find, not just one, because if that person leaves the organization, then you're back to square one, so as many as possible. Your IT leadership should be firmly in your camp and understand the value of GIS and support you any way they can. And then it used to be that all the GIS was done by the GIS department. That's no longer the case. Your job is now to do the GIS, but also to enable collaboration and empower others to use GIS. If you do that, your value gets raised in the organization because people are like, that person's awesome. They gave me this new tool that makes my life better, and therefore I understand their value is higher. And then what Brian does at Pinellas is he has the mindset of a GIS consulting firm. He treats the GIS department as a consulting firm, and then all the departments are their customers. So he wants more customers, and he wants happy customers, and he wants a profit every year. He sees ROI as profit. And that's a great mindset to have that'll really put you in a business mode. And then market spatial analysis. Spatial analysis is the reason GIS is around. It's the ultimate ROI. It's the thing that our technology can do that no other technology can. It's not map making. So we need to market the spatial analysis capabilities. And you can do this easily. If somebody asks you for a map, ask them why they want the map. They're working on a project, they're working on a problem. I guarantee if you ask a few more questions and probe, you'll eventually get to a point where you can say, you know what, I can do some analysis that'll really help you with it. And start selling analysis, not just map making. And then you've got to measure, document, and publicize your impact. You've got to advertise and say, here's all the great things that we've done. You should be presenting at least once a year to the leaders in your organization. Here's all the things we accomplished with GIS this year, and here's what we're planning next year. That way they're constantly aware. I have a story from Kenton County, Kentucky, Tricia Brush. She's a rock star. She runs the GIS there. A few years back when the economy tanked, she got a call, and they said, prepare for a county commissioner meeting tomorrow because they're getting ready to cut GIS from the county budget. She had to get in front of the county commission and plead her case to save her GIS department, and she did. But that was her wake-up call, and she said that'll never happen again. And she completely reinvented the way they do. She has a marketing budget. She has buttons and calendars and flash drives, and she gives them out. And she has a website filled with blog posts about every project they do and the impact it's having on the community and the organization. Everybody around that area knows the value of GIS now because she doesn't want to get called in again. So we all need to be doing more of that. And again, I mentioned Wade Kluse's video. That's his spreadsheet in the upper right that you can download, and it'll help you create a GIS ROI kind of library. So do you get external assistance with implementing your GIS, yes or no? Hopefully you do. Again, nobody can run it all themselves. It's really necessary in any organization that wants to be successful with it. Okay, excellent. So most of you do. Okay. So it's time to seize the opportunity in front of you. GIS is great technology. It's very accessible these days. You can do a lot very quickly compared to what we used to do long ago. Your organization, like I said, they're dying for help. They need your help above and beyond just making maps. And again, talk to those leaders, find their pain and vision, and then help them with those. Some additional resources that are available. And again, I'll put the URL for this presentation because it is online up there. But that top one is a study that Google did about the value, the ROI of geographic technology, and it's really a great article. And it talked about how really it's a drop in the bucket and that it's easily justifiable, the costs. The next one is a great one because everybody says, oh, I'm too busy to do this other stuff. So it talks about how being busy isn't the answer. And the next one goes into that. So it talks about stop doing low value work. So you are highly trained technology professionals. You should be doing the stuff at the top. The low value work you need to learn how to get rid of so that you have time to do the managerial stuff and the cutting edge stuff. And it shows you how to do that. The fourth one there talks about how culture will squash innovation every time. And it talks about the people side and the bureaucracies and the personalities and the culture in an organization and how strangling that can be around technology. And so it gives you some examples of how to get by that are really, really insightful. And the last one is very similar. It talks about the biggest obstacles to innovation in large companies, and it's usually the attitudes and the culture of people. So that's all I've got. Here's my contact information. I'm active on GeoNet. I'm active on Twitter and LinkedIn as well. And if you came in late and weren't able to vote, I'll show you the URL to this presentation because it'll stay available up there. And these results will stay in there until I clear them out. Right here. So there's the URL, or you can scan the QR code to get the presentation going. All right, are there any questions?
Can you spell that Wade's last name?
Kloos, Kloos. He's a great guy. He loves to talk to people and help people do what he's doing with ROI. I think it's really groundbreaking what he's doing, and he's a big, good resource in the community. He's at Utah DNR. Any other questions? Any questions? Nope. Okay. Well, thanks. I'll get you out early.